Well, greetings everyone, and welcome to another episode of our WCNFluencer podcast. And while all my guests are special, today's guest is even more special because we've been talking about doing this for I don't know how many years, Astara, and today is the day we get the opportunity to visit on the podcast. So welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
And
It's a
look at the
pleasure to be
wonderful,
here.
oh goodness, this is my honor to be able to visit with you and look at the great setup you have. I think you should have your own podcast.
You know, it's funny you say that. Many years ago when it first started, that thought had come to me, but like so many things, I never followed through. But maybe one day.
One day you never know
Well,
because
you never know.
you just might have that inspiration. Say, I think I need to do a podcast. But it is so great to talk to you. We've known each other for years, and I've admired your work and your music. And you've got a couple of really special courses that you've just released and developed that we're going to get to. But you know where I wanted to start our visit with today, because I've always wanted to be a singer. I'm really good in the shower because there's nobody watching. But I think music really kind of sets the tone for our being and personalities.
Yeah, I agree. I do. I'm glad we're starting with the music.
Yeah. Well, you've written over 100 songs. I've had the privilege of listening to your music, but tell our viewers and our listeners what music means to you.
Music in general. Well, I'm very picky about music. I
Mm-hmm.
want it to feel good. Um, and you might not know this, but I don't really listen to a lot of music. I, I never have. I
Yeah.
write music, I sing what I write, and I play instruments and things like that. And
Mm-hmm.
I do listen to some music, and I love going out and listening to bands and things like that. But just around the house, having music on all the time, I don't do that. When I feel that need, I sing. And at this stage of my life, really saved my life because
Right.
I I needed to find my voice. Some little spark in me did not die in all those things that I went through and just kept sniggling to find it. When I started to sing and went to these different places and even took singing classes, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I was actually so twisted up with so much repressed energy.
Right.
I basically screamed. And I even had one singing teacher telling me I needed to see a speech therapist. I was so devastated. But I didn't give up. And I just started writing songs. Most of my songs started with broken heart, love, la, la,
Right.
la, because I knew that too. But
Right.
something changed when I really tried to find my voice. The lyrics of my songs started to reflect not only just the challenge, but the possibility of succeeding and
Right.
how to overcome negative thought forms and processes.
Right.
The lyrics in my songs actually helped me cut the tape, the broken record that was going on in my mind that told me I was horrible, that I couldn't do anything right. And just, we won't go any further than that. Most people have that picture if
Yeah.
they lived like that.
Right.
And it was the lyrics to my songs kept superseding that. And finally, I couldn't hear the voice that told me that as a child, and I couldn't hear my own voice regurgitating. I
Right.
started to really hear my own music. And I wake up with it in my mind, like this new one that I just wrote. Sometimes we just forgot. I woke up with that in my mind, and it's just, they're uplifting, and I like that. So music is healing. It's what connects people, I think, on a
Right.
level that transcends the conversation.
Right. And I think it's a way to, music is one of those tools that we all use in our own way that helps us find that inner peace. You know, we connect with those lyrics.
Right.
Everybody, well, I shouldn't be so general, but I'm going to. You know, everybody has some trials and tribulations from childhood, from adult growing. I mean, it's just it's just part of life. But what is important is finding that path to inner peace. And I think the work that you've been doing over the years with your music and with your book and now with these 2 courses, it's finding people, it's allowing people to find some of that inner peace that we're all kind of striving for.
Yes, because inner peace is like emanates into your home and to your family, wherever you go, and then it reverberates out into the world. I think it's kind of almost kind of counterproductive to launch out as an angry advocate, even for a good cause.
Right.
Because that's basically kind of feeding the beast, and that's a path some people take, and that's fine. But that's not the path I take, and that's not the path I teach either. And it's really that every person has an incredible amount of inner strength and courage and an incredible amount of personal power. Everybody has some kind of a gift, whether it's gardening or finding an answer to world hunger. I mean, it doesn't have to be giant.
Right.
It can be anything. And that's, I think, what we find when we become peaceful here first.
And one of the many things that I loved about reading about you, the roots of self-awareness. We all, those of us that I think that are in the helping profession, that we want to manifest help with others, we often forget that the first person we need to help is ourselves.
I know, it's so easy to forget because that's not necessarily taught. I know when I was growing up, if I was doing something for myself, I was selfish and I was an egotist and I was a maniac and, these kinds of things. And that wasn't true. And so I really didn't know how to take care of myself for a long time. But I had to learn that. I had to learn to love myself like I did when I was a child, when it came just absolutely natural.
Right.
And that's what I would love for people to do. If they did one thing, if they learned how to love themselves, this whole world would be just a completely different place.
It would, and it's not silly at all. That's, I think it was John Lennon, give love a chance or give peace a chance. It was either John Lennon or George Harrison or one of the two, but it's so true. And we touch on this often when we able to share our stories authentically and in a way that demonstrates that in all of our differences, we're really all the same. We're all looking for 3 things: love, care, and commitment. And how do we find those? And I think what you've created here is helping people on that path to find themselves and be at peace and look inward to be able to serve others better.
Yes, I think my feelings about it is to help people learn to help themselves. And that's one of the reasons I did a course, because there's so many people that are really needing a helping hand. Of course, when the work is done, the person has really done it themselves. They've made that commitment. But it doesn't mean you can't reach out and get a helping hand or find some information here and there and put some wind under your wings, so to speak. But the true commitment is really to the self, and that is not selfish.
It's not selfish. It's that mental gymnastics we go on with one another. So I gotta be present to others. But in order to do that, you have to be present to yourself. And I guess that leads me into how do we. I know we can't answer this in one podcast, so we're probably going to do 3 or 4 more, which would be great. But how do you create a life by conscious design? What are some of the components that we need to be aware of, both internally and externally?
Well, that is a deep topic.
That's a deep,
But I think a simple way to get started is to be very conscious of your thoughts when you go to sleep. And then be very conscious of your thoughts when you wake up. If they are not healthy, course correct, rearrange until they are. Like if you go to bed with angry thoughts, you're not serving yourself, and you're not serving your sleep, you're not serving the bigger picture. I mean, it's actually harming your body. So those two bookends, I've taught that for many, many years. And I think a lot of people do it. But if you haven't thought of it, then that is a good place to simply begin. But the whole idea of creating by conscious design is to become aware of your thoughts. Now, people have a million thoughts going through their mind. When do you stop and slow down enough to know what you're really thinking? That took me years. And whenever I have a thought that is not where I want it to be, I don't just let it slip by because it's just a little one and it only happens once in a while. I grab that, say, what are you? What do I need to learn? What do I got to do with you? Whatever. But when you're starting, you have to be patient with yourself because more people ruminate than I ever imagined in my life. I thought I was the only one that did that, like spin the tape around. Not so.
That's why I've got a bald head here, because it's all those thoughts just keep spinning around. So
creating by conscious design isn't just a thought either. It's a thought and a feeling. And we have to allow ourselves to feel. I have someone who's taking one of the courses, and she went through Judgment 1 and 2, and she kind of got stuck there for a while. And she didn't want to move on until she kind of felt she could really digest what was there. Made her cry, different things happened. And I'm like, how brave, how courageous to allow those feelings to move like that. And nobody's in a race. That's the thing about conscious mastery. You're not in a race. You just begin, and every day you do the best you can. If you're entertaining negative thoughts, find out what it is. And chances are it's not about that rotten apple you just picked up. It has something to do with the tree way back over here. You might not find it, on the first go, but if you keep inquiring, you keep looking inside, you've got these amazing treasures and, nasty shadows, but they're not all nasty shadows. Right. A lot of people have relinquished parts of their brilliant self into the dark of themselves. And that's their treasure. So it's kind of like going on a treasure hunt, really. Like when you look inside, you're going to see some like, oh, I don't really like that. But go through it, lift it, and then find the treasure of yourself and start to bring life to that. I know it sounds easier than it is, but it's all doable.
It's kind of like taking personal inventory, or that spring cleaning that we always put off, in order to. So if we use the analogy of your home, you do that spring cleaning, you tend to things that you've left undone for the winter, and then all of a sudden you're refreshed and it looks great. It's kind of that same analogy there, is that sometimes we need to do that inner perspective and be conscious. That's why I love this term, conscious mastery. It's so prevalent, especially in today's fast-paced society.
Yes, fast-paced. That's another thing. I mean, we do not have to go that fast. In fact, slowing down gets you where you want to be quicker, really.
Yes, it does.
I know, right?
Yeah.
And, the whole analogy of spring cleaning, I love that. And, there's times when people dig in and they do the spring cleaning and it goes on for months because they've really started to discover, and they're moving a lot of stuff, and they probably ask for some help here and there just so they can balance their energy and stabilize the new energy. And then they get this place where it's like, and I've been there so many times, like, oh my God, I'm done. This is great. I don't have any more fear. I'm like ready for, and I was until I got to go through the next wave and
You're
go deeper. And I remember asking myself, did I learn anything? Was I doing anything? The answer is yes. It's just that now this level is integrated and my soul said, let's go deeper so we can go higher. And so I did. And that happened so many times. I started to see the signs and see the signals. And I didn't ask myself that question anymore. Did I really do anything? I knew I did. The thing is like, oh, okay, we're going at it again so soon? All right, let's do this. And I do provide tools that help people help themselves or help facilitators help their clients. I have this undying, beautiful vision of a world of people loving each other and loving themselves and peace. I really do. I don't dig in too much to a lot of negative commentary. I know what's going on in the world, but I don't have to immerse myself.
Exactly.
I don't want my energy body to start feeling agitated, because if it does, I have been there too long. And that's not healthy.
Right. It is not healthy at all to stay in the negative, for sure. So let's talk about your two courses. This is it's very exciting. It's kind of like, you've published you've had a book published, you've had music published, but these courses, it's like having that first book in your hand. It's like, it's really, you're excited, you're giddy, and you've been working on it really hard, and now you're about to unveil them. And so let's talk about the Conscious Mastery life course. Let's start there first.
Okay, the life course is for everyone who wants to start digging into the journey of helping themselves, of understanding why they've created the life they've created, to actually help them understand that they in fact did, and to create a bridge to take them from where they are to where they want to be, with a level of understanding, because to just have positive quotes is great, have positive affirmations is great, but you have to go deeper. You have to go into the vibration, you have to go into the feeling. And like I mentioned to you earlier, it's not a race. You go at your own pace, and you dive in and you write. I really advocate journal writing. I've been writing in a journal for 40 some years. I do it every day, still do, probably will to my last breath. And the way a person can untangle their thoughts and their feelings and then look at it and go, oh, wow, okay. Because once you start writing, some automatic things just start laying themselves out on the paper. You probably know that yourself, right?
Yes. Writing is very cathartic.
Yes. So the course, it begins with, there's sections, and some of the modules are like on forgiveness, heart essence versus heartlessness. And I had to put this in there because I think a lot of people move in heartless ways that don't understand that that's what they're doing. But I'll give them examples, and I do in there. But when they see that, they're like, wow, that's not really what I want to do. Like, I don't see myself as being heartless, but yet this is what I'm doing. I'll just give a really quick example. Like, say you're in an argument with your spouse, and then you just give them the silent treatment. That's when the heart chakra has closed. And that is an example of heartlessness. The heart is not operating, is not vibrating out. It's not offering any solutions. It's like a stone wall. And there's a lot of other examples I give. That's a simple one. And people think, well, that's really not such a big deal. But it is. Every little thing that we do is a stepping stone or a building block to something or somewhere. I talk about judgment. There's 2 modules on judgment and guilt. Denial is a big one. Knowing yourself, know thyself. How important is that? To really know thyself. And in the long run, when we really get to know who we are, like our essence, we fall in love with that.
You know what's so beautiful about that is, especially, I'm a product of the 60s, and my parents were a product of they were both born in the teens, 1915 and
Mm.
1911, and we're products out of those experiences.
Hmm.
And to step out of those is frightening, but so needed. And as I'm hearing you describe the course, it's like I picture myself and stepping into my comfort zone by taking some inventory and doing some spring cleaning and having a somebody like yourself who has experienced all these things. It's not just something that is something that you haven't experienced yourself. These are
Yeah.
life experiences that you've shared. That and there's no better learning tool from one person to another than sharing one's own personal experience.
I often say, even in the course, that experience is the best teacher. And so as you're going through the course, you will have experiences. I'm just asking people to slow down enough to have those experiences. And the spring cleaning, it's kind of almost not a comfort zone space.
No,
It
I wouldn't think so.
You're not in your comfort zone when you're really digging in. When you've done enough work and your whole body and spirit says, okay, wow, let's integrate this. Let's breathe. Let's be where we are. Let's take inventory of what we learned and let's just kind of cruise and practice these new ways. That's your comfort zone. That's your new comfort zone. Mm-hmm. And, that's not going to last because you're not done. And then you're going to do it again and again, like I had mentioned. But it's actually a beautiful thing. How boring would life be if we thought we knew it all? Like, I just went through an experience just last week that made me go, oh, really? I'm holding that? I mean, I had to dive in and do everything that I ask other people to do for themselves. And right. So this really does come from a place of decades of personal experiences. I did have cool healers happen in my way. Books fell in my lap at the time that I needed it, and I think this is what happens to a lot of people when they really are in earnest. Like, I want to understand my life. Why am I here? What am I doing? The right things do come into play.
They come at the right time when you're open to them.
They do. Yeah. They do.
And you also have a facilitator course. So let's dig into that a little bit.
Yeah, I do. And this one is designed for people who want to become facilitators or who are already facilitating on some level, doing some kind of a healing modality. This would be a certification to add to their probably, already certified talents. The reason I think this is good, I think it's because it takes some of the ideas of what people are struggling with, sheds light on the shadows in such a way that kind of helps pull the veil apart. So when they're hearing people, they can understand like, oh, wow, that sounds like a root chakra issue. Now, in the root chakra, there's all kinds of tools from yoga postures to healthy foods to mantras. I have sounds that relate to the chakras, not only just the seed sound, but the actual key sound to help bring balance into the chakras. And in the professional one, there is also a whole section on creating events, how to create safe space, and just how to gather people so you can grow your business, you can be useful in your community, because you don't have to charge for everything, but you don't have to do everything for free either.
Right.
But this is a way for your community to get to know you and some of the things that you do. So I give different kinds of event ideas, how to title and subtitle so people can understand, is this a fit for me or is it not? Ideas of how to look for the location and what you might need in those locations, to like bathroom facilities, parking, things like that. When I first started doing it, I didn't think that far ahead. I just launch out and I'm like, oh, wait a minute, there's no bathrooms, or whatever, There again, experience being the best teacher. So I gave everything that I could think of to help them help others. And then also it's helping them help themselves too to get to the next level, because nobody knows it all. And I'm learning every day, honestly. I mean, just having this podcast with you, I had to look at how I was feeling about it, and how I feel about who I am, and am I going to look pretty? I know it sounds crazy, but these are things going on in my mind.
You got it all covered. You got it all covered. Mm-hmm.
And, and just get settled, like,
Yeah, but that's so true. Yeah. Yeah. Anytime we do something a little bit different or out of our comfort zone per se, no matter how many songs you've written or books, when you're doing something different, there's always that like when you get butterflies in your gut, but those are usually pretty good, pretty good to have, because it's another learning experience that we take from.
And I think those little butterflies are like little friends, they're like, give you a little bit.
They are. They're all yellow butterflies for me. So.
Yeah, beautiful. Yellow butterflies are the ones that came and have still been coming since my brother passed. I was in the middle of creating this course when I went to California, and I thought I was going to work on it while I was there, because I just did a one-way ticket. I really didn't know what I was stepping into. We won't go into that. But what I will say is that everything that I've learned and that I teach and that I talk about came to me in spades to practice. And I did it every single day. Just every single day I left the work because I was doing the work again.
Right.
And it was the most amazing learning lesson for me. And I was absolutely in the right place at the right time, as difficult as it was. And then when I got back, I saw so many yellow butterflies, and his favorite bird was an owl, and had an owl perch right on a tree right outside my window for days. And then sit in a tree over there. I know, just...
That's right. Yeah, it does make the heart pitter patter for sure.
And, creating by conscious design, I think it's really important to have some sort of a doable system. Like if you're going to go do a workout, if you're going to start an exercise program, you don't want to start with, I'm going to do 100 sit-ups and then I'm going to run 3 miles and I'm going to do this every other day. Well, it's not realistic, But I think what is realistic is that you could actually put pen to paper every day. Doesn't mean that you're actually going to write, but you could put your pen to the paper and date it. That's it. Do a doodle, date it, whatever. And then come back and until you start feeling safe enough and curious enough to start writing and see where it takes you. That is a very simple start of a devotion to yourself. I had a big...
Oh, goodness, a devotion to yourself. Now that is a tagline for sure.
Yeah. So I had a whole thing that I did every day. And then when I went to California, the whole thing just fell away, except I still managed to journal. I still managed to find little things to keep me grounded. That was your comfort
zone. Yeah.
Because it was necessary as a touchstone. So I didn't get lost and I could be more helpful. Mm-hmm. And that's what I think, like, okay, so the bookends, a good thought at night and a good thought in the morning before you get up. I mean, I smile before I even open my eyes. I just do that.
I love that. Yeah.
And at night, a good thought before you fall out. It's just, I'll always tell Friak, I love you. He tells me, I love you, sweet dreams. So that's our last little conversation. If you're by yourself, you can still say, what a great day I had.
It's all about gratitude.
Yeah, pick something out.
Pick something out. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So between those two bookends and just starting to write so you can become conscious of your thoughts and your feelings, that is the great way to actually begin to master your consciousness in the simplest form that I could think of to share today.
I am so excited to dig into the course and have more conversations with you about I think we'll do some more podcast about as I go through the course and
that's great.
I think that's we discover things as we talk, but I'd love to do that. We
Cool.
we can go through this. I'll go through the course, and we'll do this together through some podcasts. That would be wonderful. But everybody's on their pins and needles, wanting to know how can they learn more about the course, where can they find it. And of course, we're going to have all the notes in our show notes, but everybody wants to hear it from you, Astara. So how can people learn more about conscious mastery?
Oh, please go to my website, consciousmastery.com. I've been writing blogs there since 2010. So there's a lot of information. You can see those on the sidebar. But at the top, you can see where there is the course, which is the life course, and the certification. And that is the Conscious Mastery Facilitator certification course. Each one has its own page and describes it. And for the first year, it's on sale. I'm not going to pretend that it's less than a year. It is a year. I want for one whole year it's like half off. And that's how you can find it. And then you can find out more about some of the music, my book. It's available everywhere. Most people get it on Amazon. Mm-hmm. And then there's a little bit about me and who I am. But as my podcast. Oh my gosh!
See,
I
think it's going to happen. I think it's going to happen.
It might. That's so
you
funny.
You already have the title for it. It's Conscious Mastery Podcast. So
yeah. As I move along in my blogs, is what I was going to say. But I am sharing more of what brought me to where I am. Right. And so the one that I shared with you is really the first one that is a broad sweep of some level of transparency. And there was a man mentioned in there who was a shaman. I'm going to do a post on him specifically. Right. He's just a wonderful man, and he's doing great work. And when I met him, he was working out of his home, but now he's grown, expanded, and he's touching people all over the world, and it's just pretty fantastic.
I think there's your first guest for your podcast.
Yeah.
Star, what a great visit we've had today, and you are certainly a WCNFluencer with all the great work that you're doing, and I'm looking forward to our next visit soon.
Namaste.